Good evening and welcome to the Illinois Symphony Orchestra's Sunday at 6 Recital Series. I'm Executive Director Trevor Orthman, and tonight we feature our second trombonist, Kevin Dombrowski, joined by guests John Grodrian and Stephen Lecik. The Sunday at 6 performances are made possible through the generosity of our series sponsors, Dr. and Mrs. Richard McDaniel, Dr. Patricia and Randall Rushing, and an anonymous donor. And we recognize this evening's performance sponsors, Jim and Debbie Ringer. Thank you. Our next performance will be on October 18th, featuring principal cellist Noman Zolzaya with Ian Hallis, principal bass of the Lyric Opera of Chicago Orchestra. Also that evening, join us online for our Symphony in Your Slippers Gala, but you can start bidding on items right now. Among the many wonderful items you can bid on are cooking lessons in the kitchen of Julie and Bob Dobsky, a beautiful bracelet from Jack Lewis Jewelers, and a monthly dessert package from the Guild in Bloomington. Bidding will end at 10 p.m. on October 18th, so start now and keep on bidding until the 18th. You can go to our website, ilsymphony.org, for more details about the gala and future performances. Following this evening's performance, we will again be having our Coda Conversations discussion with tonight's featured artist and music director, Ken Lamb. It will take place as part of this broadcast, so you don't need to go to Zoom. If you want to ask questions, please do so by typing in the chat feature of your YouTube or Facebook link. Now I'd like to turn it over to our music director, Ken Lamb.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all well. I'm going to introduce the performers tonight, and in particular, our second trombonist, Kevin Dombrowski. Kevin joined the ISO in the 18-19 season, so this is the beginning of his third season with the symphony. He's originally from Lansing, Illinois. He was very specific, Lansing, Illinois. And he's a graduate of Eastman School of Music and Yale University. In addition to playing the orchestra, Kevin also serves on the orchestra committee and helps us in shaping many decisions affecting the orchestra. So please welcome to the stage, Kevin Dombrowski.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Dombrowski, and I am the second trombonist with the Illinois Symphony Orchestra. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. That first piece that Mr. Stephen Lecik and John Grodrian and myself played for you was a piece by Joseph Haydn from his string quartet number 17, and that was the Presto Movement. Originally, like I said, originally for string quartet, arranged for trombone trio. I think you got a really fun recital here planned for you today. We've got music from all different periods of time. Some music written originally for trombone, some arrangements, like the next piece. The next piece I'm going to play for you is a piece actually originally written for flute solo. This particular piece is called Syrinx by Claude Debussy. It's a very beautiful piece. That's part of the reason that I wanted to play it on the trombone. It's a very haunting and sort of wandering sort of solo, and I really hope you guys enjoyed my rendition on the trombone of Claude Debussy's Syrinx for solo flute on solo trombone. Thank you. Okay, so the next piece that we're going to play for you, I'm going to bring back Mr. Stephen Lecik and John Grodrian, is a piece originally written for trombone by a composer and trombonist named Raymond Premru. The piece is titled Felicity, and Premru actually named the piece after his daughter. This is one of my very favorite pieces to play for trombone trio repertoire. It's such a beautiful melody, very simple, and just a really nice listen. I really hope you guys enjoy Felicity by Raymond Premru. Always love playing that piece. So the next piece I've got for you is another piece for a solo instrument, and this time originally written for the trombone. This particular piece is by the Hungarian composer named Hidas Frigyes, and the piece is titled Fantasia for trombone. And just like the Debussy, this piece it doesn't have much of a form to it. It's very open in the way that the piece is presented. There's one theme that continues to come back and is sort of incessant, and it's sort of fun to play pieces like this and sort of figure out maybe what the composer was going for, either an emotion or maybe some sort of story. And I think that's really fun for as an audience member to sort of kind of see what you can make of it. as to what I'm trying to say or what the composer was trying to say. This piece is really fun to perform. I have a blast always playing it, and I hope you guys enjoy Hidas Frigyes' Fantasia for trombone. Thank you guys very much. So just like that, we've come to close to the end of our recital here. We've got one last piece that Steve and John will join me at. Let's see, that was weird. That Steve and John will join me on. This last piece we're going to be playing is Sonata Number 4 by Pergolesi, and it is arranged by the very famous trombonist Ralph Sauer, who just happened to be the principal trombonist with the Los Angeles Philharmonic for many, many years. This piece, it's a Baroque piece, and the title Sonata doesn't necessarily have to do with what we may think of as sonata form, or a sonata having to do with that form. Exactly. In the Baroque time, it had more to do with just a piece written for instruments that was not for the church, or not for voices mainly. And this style of composition was usually broken up into 3 movements, and those movements would go fast, slow, fast. This one happens to also do that. I'm wondering if there are any pieces that didn't do that. Maybe there's a music historian out there that might know. But the music is absolutely gorgeous. In a lot of ways, it sort of plays itself as performance. It's really fun to just see where the music takes you. There's not much that we really need to do with it because it is so beautifully written. The middle movement, the adagio, slow movement, is absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite Pergolesi movements to play, and I hope you guys really enjoy our rendition of Pergolesi's Sonata Number 4. And I could tell, I think you guys are clapping for us. That's why we're bowing. If you guys clap loud enough, if we can hear you, we may have one more piece after that. So we'll take a listen for that. Hope you guys enjoyed Pergolesi's Sonata Number 4. I think I heard you guys clap loud enough. So we do have one more piece for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Illinois Symphony Orchestra for inviting me to play for you guys on this recital series. There will be a Q&A, as Trevor Orthman said. There'll be a Q&A after this performance where you can type in either on YouTube or Facebook any questions that you have for us about the group, about the music, anything that your heart desires. We do have this last piece is an arrangement that I did a couple of weeks ago, actually, a couple of months ago, kind of for this purpose. This was a song that I've always loved. It comes from a very famous movie. It doesn't take too much of an introduction. This is Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Thanks again for joining us. See you at the Q&A afterward. Take another bow, yeah.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm gonna switch my my mic around real quick here. Cool.
That's great.
Let's see here. Can you guys hear me pretty clearly?
Yeah, and I think Kevin would like you to turn off that that echo thing.
Yes. Here we go. How's that?
Good. I don't hear myself anymore. That's great. So that was just lovely. That last transcription. Do you do a lot of transcriptions?
I do. Yeah, I've for years and years I've loved writing music for trombone and brass instruments in general. There's a lot of really good music written for our instrument, and sometimes a lot of better music written for other instruments. So that particular tune obviously was just something that I've always liked that song and figured why not make an arrangement of it. But yeah, I do love to do a lot of different arrangements as well.
That's great. We'll talk a little bit more about arrangements and transcription in a little bit. But we've seen your friends, the other members of your trio. Please introduce them. Let us know who they are, where they're from, and how long have you been playing together?
Definitely. Well, I'll let them speak. They won't just stand like my bodyguards behind me, but we actually just started. We started playing together. Well, we've actually known each other. I've known Steve. Sorry, looking at the camera, it's reversed. I've known Steve for 20 years now. Both he and I studied with the same teacher in Lansing, Illinois, a guy named Timothy Reardon, who's a good friend and colleague of mine to this day. And so Steve and I have known each other for quite a long time, and John and I have known each other for quite a long time too, probably
about 10 years.
At least 10 years. And on and off, we've all played. Steve and I played in a trombone quartet together when I was in 8th grade and Steve was a senior in high school, where we played at the Fishoff National Chamber Music Competition and other chamber music competitions around Chicago. Yeah, we've known each other and played on and off with each other for years. Both Steve and I were at Eastman School of Music together as well. So that was a lot of fun then. But yeah, this particular trio, we started getting together a couple months ago during all the quarantine and lockdown times. We musicians haven't had the chance to really play in public that often at all, really. And so we were all kind of fiending for some music to be played. So we actually started. I'm in my parents' house right now, which I'd like to thank them for allowing us to use their space, by the way. But we've been getting together in my parents' backyard and have been playing socially distanced in their backyard for the last couple months. And it's been a real treat and pleasure to get to play music and get to play with really two good friend and colleagues of mine here. And that's sort of how we formed. And we don't have a name yet, but I feel like it has something to do with quarantining, or we've thrown some ideas around. But yeah, and would you like to say a little bit about yourself, John?
Oh, sure. Hi, John Grodrian. I'm here from Valparaiso, Indiana. Oh, yes.
There we go.
I'm here from Valparaiso, Indiana. I teach at the university there, at Valparaiso University, teach trombone there, and I also teach at the Merit School of Music in Chicago. And trying to keep busy, like everyone.
Mr. Lecik?
Hello, my name's Steven. I have 2 cats, and I love baking, and it's kind of how I make my money, besides playing music. So sourdough and kitties, I think is good.
That's great. Well, let's see. I think you've answered that first question on the screen. I think Jerry was just asking where you work or play. And Kevin, you want to tell us a bit more about where you play or work? Or
yeah, so obviously I'm second trombone with the Illinois Symphony. I'm a frequent sub with the Fort Wayne Philharmonic in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then I have a studio of students. Hopefully some of them are watching, based out of Crown Point, Indiana. That's where most of my students are. And then I freelance all throughout the Midwest as well.
Now, I actually have a question about just the trombone repertoire.
Yes.
Obviously, you played a Haydn string quartet. It's a first movement of the quartet. And now, obviously, there is a quartet, but you only had 3 trombones. So how did that all work? And of course, the Debussy was for flute, and that must what sort of challenges does that pose for you?
So that's actually it's fun you asked that. I have my own philosophy on playing music written for other instruments that are arranged for our instrument. I feel like there's a reason some pieces are written for certain instruments. Certain the way a flute is able to play high and soft and graceful, and there's a reason that Debussy wrote that piece for the flute. And that piece actually has to do with Pan's flute. Syrinx having to do with the Greek myth with Syrinx turning into reeds and Pan cutting the reeds down. But either way, I feel like it's a nice challenge to be able to play music written for other instruments. But at the same time, I do feel like the trombone can add. There are qualities to our instrument that we shouldn't shy away from, and that I think sometimes add to a composition or add to a piece, and maybe other instrumentalists would take away. But that's the trombone bias from my standpoint, at least. But it can be a challenge, but really a fun challenge to attempt pieces that aren't written for our instruments.
That's great. Now, Kevin, I'm sure you see another question has popped up on the screen from Pat Dennis. Could you guys describe your instruments?
Sure. So both Steven and I are both playing tenor trombones. I play on a Antoine Courtois tenor trombone. And Steve plays on a it's Wisconsin Bach. Oh, so a Greenhoe Bach. I'm sure for most people this is all this tech talk is really fun. And then
this is Shire's bass trombone. It's got a little extra tubing back here and a bigger bell.
And well, just a follow up on that question, you all had something covering.
It's getting cold here in Chicago, and so the trombones, you just put a hat on and it keeps it nice and warm, because like most of the heat is lost through the bell.
That's not entirely true. We've actually so due to obviously social distancing and wearing, I'm not wearing a mask right now, which I probably should be, but due to social distancing with playing, there are some water droplets that do come out of our instrument. So they're little covers that we've each made individually in order to help with the spread of air or molecules that come out of the instrument.
Wow! So this is actually a sort of COVID solution.
In a way, yeah. A lot of people around the world obviously we all want to get back to playing in person and be together, and this is in some ways somewhat of a solution for at least brass and woodwind instruments to a certain extent.
Well, I'm just going to keep on that, because I'm sure everyone watching, it's going to be they are obviously symphony lovers and music lovers. For musicians, it's been pretty challenging, hasn't it? I mean, since middle of March, how have you guys been coping? And are you able to maintain students? How do you teach? And are you playing with other people? And
yeah, so luckily, I mean, just like this medium that we're able to share a concert over the internet like this, I've personally been still teaching over Zoom lessons with students, and I'm also, unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but I've become a professional mover. You got to make money somehow, and it's a good workout. So that's what I've been doing in this summer, is doing a lot of moving. Because there haven't been any performances, unfortunately. And yeah,
we're good at, most of us have had years of practice of being alone. And so we've just got back into those habits, and we really are all looking forward to a sense of community again. So we're just trying to stay positive and can't wait to, vibrate with other human beings in person someday soon.
Wow. And have you guys picked up any new hobbies?
No, I've just been practicing a lot. There's plenty of time for that. Oh, yeah, actually, John has picked up a very big hobby.
I've started to do some woodworking, which has been pretty fun, making tables and planners, and YouTube is an amazing thing.
Amazing thing.
And he's being modest. Some of the things he's been sending us have been absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So musicians, extra time, you become a carpenter.
Yeah.
You know.
That's fantastic. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm doing a concert with you did Pergolesi. We're doing some Rameau and Lully, and actually one of our staff members here in Charleston, he also became a carpenter, and he's looking at making one of these big staffs.
Oh, yes.
Don't hit it on your foot.
Don't do that. Be very careful. Make sure you sand the bottom.
Make sure you sand the bottom. There you go. That's what we should do. But well, the trombone repertoire. Just going back to that, it's just I think the trombone sound like a ensemble of trombone, the trombone choir sound. It's just one of the best sound in the world. I think it just blends so well. It's like a concert of viols. And the trombone choir. So I don't know how well everyone who are listening in actually know the trombone repertoire. Could you just tell us what's out there? Give us a few things if they're really interested in trombone music, and what would you recommend us to go from here?
The major composers all loved the trombone, and so if you look to any of like the orchestral repertoire, some of the most fantastic writing and most of the apex of like a musical phrase will involve us in some way.
Yeah, so Mahler, Bruckner, Shostakovich,
Beethoven, Mozart.
But more specifically, if there are any artists that anybody would be interested in, probably the most famous trombone soloist still alive is a man named Christian Limburg. He probably has come out with, hundreds of CDs of trombone. I think he's probably played every single solo trombone work. He's also a composer, so and has commissioned probably over 100 different works, if not more, in his career so far. And I believe he's the conductor of he's in Sweden now. I forget Norksipung. I don't know. I'm butchering that, but he's a conductor now as well. So that's a person, Christian Limburg. Any other?
The trombone, it works in many different styles. It's one of the oldest instruments. It predates valves. It's as old, or at least as old as the keyboard. One of the first jobs for a trombonist was to climb the watchtower and make sure that if any lions or dangerous vagabonds were going to invade the city, that we would blow the trombone and make sure everyone would know these people were coming. So it's a very old instrument, and beyond working at the watchtower, you can also work in a jazz club. Charles Mingus's band has a very fine trombonist if you're looking for non-classical representations of good trombone playing. Jimmy Knepper.
That's fantastic, and I'd love to hear more of Kevin's your transcriptions.
Yeah,
Frankly, take the whole American songbook and just do transcription for trombone trios. I think I'm sure that would be very popular.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that one day.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Ched, are there other questions from the people who are watching on YouTube or Facebook? I guess there aren't. Trevor, you have any other questions for these gentlemen?
One that a lot of times we have students, and with our youth orchestra, students joining and watching. And how did you get your start? Did you start on the trombone, or were you playing the piano and then decided, wow, I want to play another instrument? Or was it one of those where you had to select in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade? And so what was your path into your career?
Definitely. I'll start with mine, I guess. Mine is pretty normal, I suppose. I grew up in when I was in like 1st through 4th grade. I remember our middle school band would actually come to our schools. I went to a Catholic grade school growing up, and the middle school band would come to our school every year in early September, and it was sort of a showcase for kids who were old enough to join the band. And I remember the first time I got to see a live band, that probably would have been the first time in about first grade. I was just like blown away. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I really didn't have any musical background prior to that. I pretty much like once my time came around in fifth grade, I told my parents. I went home with and I said, hey, I want to join the band. And I was a kid who played sports and had nothing to do. Like I had no musical background at all. And they were kind of thrown back by it. And but yeah, I had joined band. I absolutely loved it. I had mentioned earlier that Steve and I we had a fantastic teacher who really helped us push our boundaries as to where we were able to perform as kids. I think by the time before I was even out of high school, I had traveled around the world just through music. I'd gone on a few European tours. I'd played on national television and the radio and all these things. So that was sort of my path starting out, was just a kid who thought the noises that they were making sounded awesome. And it's something that I stuck with. You guys?
Sure. I actually started on piano, pretty young age. My fairly musical family. My grandmother was my piano teacher. My glasses are fogging up. That happens. And kind of like Kevin said, I got to see the school band, first grade, second grade, third grade, and it was like never a question. I was always going to play in the band. And piano is really fun, but you're by yourself. You can play more than one note at the same time, which is nice. But it is kind of a solitary activity in the practice room, and I really love the idea of making music with other people. So as soon as that happened in fifth grade, I was hooked. Yeah, I chose the trombone because of that slide. It was shiny, and
So nice.
And I think I had recently seen the Blues Brothers, and was pretty fascinated by that little solo there at the end. I just kept rewinding the tape, watching it back and forth and back and forth. So shout out to Tom Bones Malone. Thank you. Oh, I should also mention, I mentioned earlier, I teach at the Merit School of Music. These guys are also products of the Merit School of Music in Chicago. Both Kevin and Steve. So that's a pretty special place. And since they've mentioned Timothy Reardon, I have to also. He's my teacher also, though much later in life than when these guys started. Anyway, hi Tim, if you're watching. Good to see you.
I was inspired by the Looney Tunes theme.
I like that answer.
It's the truth.
So we have one final question that you might see on the screen. What is the most exciting, rewarding opportunity you have had to play your instrument?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd say for me, it actually has to do with Steve. This is probably a turning moment in my career as a trombonist, or eventual career as a trombonist musician. When I was in eighth grade, our teacher's name has been dropped a few times, but he had asked me to play in a quartet that he had always run, that he coached. And at the time, Steve was a senior in high school. The other members were a senior and a sophomore, I believe. And I just remember that was the first time that I was just like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. It was a moment of just like pure joy, being able to play with such fantastic musicians at the time. And that was something that it was the first. I'll never forget it. The first rehearsal was at another friend of ours, his parents' place here in Lansing, Illinois. And I remember getting dropped off and just being this excited eighth grader and just being like, yeah, I want to do this. I just want to keep going. So for me, that was probably, more of an inspiring moment than anything in my career, in my life.
Any?
I find sort of the like sacred moments that we get to participate in very inspiring. So funerals or like I've had the opportunity a couple of times to play the bugle calls for veteran ceremonies, and it's a very powerful experience when you can offer the thing that goes in place of the words in moments when it's very useful.
Good answers.
Anything to add, John?
There's so many. I guess I'll go with the first time I got to play the Brahms Second Symphony. That was a pretty amazing thing. We have to wait well, not in that one. Kind of played pretty quickly in that one.
Yeah.
But that last 2 minutes of that symphony, that is some good trombone writing.
Now, did you play as a bass trombone?
I did not. No. The bass trombone is actually fairly new for me, but it's kind of fun.
Excellent.
Well, I would like to thank Kevin and John and Stephen for performing this evening, and Ken for moderating the conversation. And again, just take time and tune in on the 18th, where we will also be having our online gala that evening following the performance and the discussion. And if you want to start bidding on items in our auctions that we have, you can go to our website and go to the Symphony in Your Slippers Gala, and you will find information there. So then, thank you, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys.